Cindy's an Etsy seller, if you haven't already figured that out, and she is living the dream. We're going to get into her dream. She's in Rome. She's traveling. She's working from her laptop, and she's only opened her Etsy shop, what, 3 years ago, Cindy?
When you get bigger, when you're not a shop with 100 sales, but you're a shop with 12,000 sales, okay? Stuff that you just always had up suddenly start selling. And they didn't sell in the beginning because nobody saw you when you were little. But now you have all these people coming, and I have that a lot. I have a lot of stuff that just suddenly I'm like, what's going on in Phoenix? And all my Phoenix shirts are selling. Other people copied me exact. And I said, hey, you want to do your own version, go for it. But you took my work and you're selling it like it's your work. And I had to have that conversation with 2 other people, and they were very nice. They took it down. The third person was the problem. If you're going to do this, go hard. Because if you're just going to play at it, you're not going to, if you want a hobby, if you want to treat it like a hobby, you might get some hobby money. You make up your mind you're going to do this until it works.
May this be the first of so many wonderful trips for you. Here we are. We're with Cindy. She's in Rome. Cindy, you want to say hi real quick?
Oh my God. Hi. I can't believe it that I'm in Rome. I'm doing this from Rome. I mean, I'm not like, this is my first time out of the United States. Yay. This is big. And this was because of all of this that I could do it.
So Cindy is an Etsy seller. And Cindy, I remember right from you were kind of starting Etsy when I was starting YouTube. And
right.
Yeah. And I remember some of your first comments on my YouTube channel. I actually tried to go back and find them.
Mentioned that.
Yeah, I tried to go back and find them before our interview, but I couldn't. It was like, I was like looking for a needle in a haystack. I couldn't find them, but I remember.
I can't even remember. I was so new. It was like, I had no clue. I didn't come from a design background. I didn't, when you start this and you really are serious, like, I'm just going to do this. My attitude was, I don't care if this takes me a year, takes me 5 years. I'm going to do it. These are my goals. I'm going to hit them. And like, my husband's like, are you going to make money this fourth quarter? And everybody's talking about it. And I'm like, I'll make it next fourth quarter. I'm just going to keep going. So, but you have no idea when you're brand new. Everybody thinks it's just them. There's such a whirlwind of learning, running a business, knowing all the different research programs and graphic programs. And, my friend who's trying to start, she's like, what's SEO? And she's like, everybody's telling me SEO. I don't even know what that is. There's so much to learn. And then when you're in your second year, you can't even believe that, it comes, if you keep at it, it comes to you. It all comes to you. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't know that then,
It's like the learning stacks on itself and you just become better and better. Yeah. And then
and like
on themselves with sales.
Yeah. Like you were saying, it's like building a muscle. When you do it over and over again, you get better and better at it because, my friend is like, she's brand new and she's like, you just listed something just in 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, there was a trend and I wanted to catch on it. Just takes me 6 hours to do a listing. I'm like, I've been doing this every single day for almost 3 years. You've been doing this for 3 weeks.
It's easier. It gets so much easier.
Oh my God. Yeah. The people who think that, oh, how am I ever going to do this? It does you find your own shortcuts.
Yep.
It gets easier. It really does. I mean, it really does.
Cindy's an Etsy seller, if you haven't already figured that out. And she is living the dream. We're going to get into her dream. She's in Rome. She's traveling. She's working from her laptop. And she's only opened her Etsy shop, what, 3 years ago, Cindy?
I started January 2023. So what month are we in? Just 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And this is where she's at now. Now, I know Cindy because I just mentioned I've had a chance to chat with her through comments on the YouTube channel. And so I've got to grow
and your little dog Tucker.
Tucker. And then now Cindy is a part of the membership, the Learn and Earn Academy. So I get the honor of being a bigger part of her journey, and I get to chat with her more, and I get to follow her journey more. So that is how she came to be on this interview. And we know that her story is going to inspire you. By the end of this interview, you're going to have just that. Cindy's here to share with us some of those things along the way that she's experienced that are going to keep you going for sure. So your why was so that you could travel. You're there. You're traveling. This is your first time out of the country.
This is my first. I mean, but Etsy is paid for. Like, my friends and I rented a house in Sedona for Christmas, and my husband and I went to. I mean, we've done other little trips. that I said, hey, Etsy's paying for this, but this is the first big trip ever. It took 2.5 years to get here, but hey, it's worth it.
And it just moves faster and faster as you go. Have you found that, Cindy? Like as you keep listing,
I still hit a milestone. I started in January, and by May of 2023, I had my first 100 sales, and by June, I had over 200. So it doubled, you know? And then now, it was a big milestone for me about a month ago to hit 10,000. I'm almost at 12,000 now.
You sell from stuff that you've already created that's older. It's like a mix of that. You wind up selling from a mix of things that never become bestsellers, but you're listing so many things that
and I like them, so I keep them.
Yeah. And then you wind up with new things that wind up really getting some traction. And then of course there's a bunch of things that never sell, but this is how it just starts to stack. It just starts to stack.
But you know what else happens that I notice is like when you get bigger, when you're not a shop with 100 sales, but you're a shop with 12,000 sales, okay? Stuff that you just always had up suddenly start selling. And they didn't sell in the beginning because nobody saw you when you were little. But now you have all these people coming. And, you know, I have that a lot. I have a lot of stuff that just suddenly I'm like, what's going on in Phoenix? And all my Phoenix shirts are selling. But no, it just, because I do travel. I do mostly travel. But I'll see it just changed. But also I jumped into doing politics too. I was never going to do that because you right away lose half your audience, and I never wanted to do that. But I put up a few things just that inspired me, and it hit. They were bestsellers right away, and everybody's like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you put that on the yard? I'm like, okay. And that took off because people were requesting it. I never wanted to do that. But so that's my second big niche now, and it wasn't meant to be.
That's so funny. So sometimes you just kind of stumble into something. Then you stumble into other products because, like you said, they ask for yarn design.
Yeah, I kind of fell into that.
Yeah, we can't share Cindy's design here on the video, of course, but she did take a very creative idea and, you know, she mixed it with a very trendy layout. And she kind of created a new trend on Etsy with this idea, and she's done very well with it.
I listed it in December, and I knew it was going to hit. I knew it was going to hit, but there was just different things, there's just different things that pushed it forward. So it didn't become a bestseller till January, and it carried January and February, March, when everybody was complaining they weren't getting sales. I was selling hundreds of that. I was selling shirts plus hundreds of that shirt a day. And that's when they were like, put it on a yard sign, do this, do that, put it on a tote bag, put it on a mug. And by March, everybody had copied me. Other people copied me exact. And I said, hey, you want to do your own version, go for it. But you took my work and you're selling it like it's your work. And I had to have that conversation with two other people, and they were very nice. They took it down. The third person was the problem. I said, hey, this is my design, take it down. And she basically copied me, recreated me. She was a little shop with 200 sales, and not even 200 sales, and most of those were my design. She took my design and put it on like 15 products. And she said, ours are just very similar. And I go, you have the exact colors, you have the words in the same places, that was my design. The background was my design. And she said, well, I take designers' work very, very seriously. I would never copy anybody. And, you know, everything in her store is somebody else's. And she has less than 100 listings. And so what happened was I said, I'm going to report it to Etsy. Big mistake for saying that. I should have just reported it. She reported it, and Etsy doesn't take sides. Etsy said, we have to take yours down because somebody said you stole she said I stole it from her, even though I listed in December, she listed in April or May. And so mine got frozen. My 900 sales one got frozen. And then for 10 days, she could bring a lawsuit against me for using my design. And then when I put it up, I had to put it back up as a brand new listing.
Just to recap so everyone understands exactly what happened to Cindy. The girl copied it. Cindy said, hey, can you please take this down? You've stolen my work. And this girl said, no, I didn't. Etsy doesn't look into it. And so Cindy filed a counterclaim, right, Cindy? This girl couldn't take you to court. Like you could prove that, you know, it was your listing.
No, and I've applied. I actually applied for a copyright on that design, and then I'll be able to, I don't know, shut her down but by that time it won't be, it was very on trend. So it's not going to be popular a year from now when I finally get my copyright approved. But,
right.
you know,
because that's how Etsy works.
But
next trend we got to be designing with that style in mind. Yeah. I know there's people that are super interested in this because it's a thing. You get copycatted. First of all, anyone listening, being worried about a copycat is not a reason not to do Etsy. Do Etsy anyway. And then I've had very similar experience. Usually when someone's copying me directly, I can't tell the difference between the two listings. I'll reach out. Usually I used to reach out just like you did, Sydney, and say, hey, I know mistakes happen. This is a direct copy of mine. Can you please take it down before I take further action, basically. And then usually they take it down. Or they tell me what P&G shop is selling my design that they purchased it from, right? Because that's happened too.
Oh, they do that too. That happened to me too.
Yeah. And so then I reach out to the P&G shop and ask them to take it down. I don't even bother anymore because it's my time is better spent making the next best design, but
right.
Copied it. Right. Like you said, it's on its way out. It's not doing as well anyway.
They all have a lifespan. So it's like, okay, that was fading out anyway. Let me make the next 20 bestsellers or whatever. Put your mindset there and not on back what happened months ago. Because that would have faded out anyway. Nothing stays, your bestsellers one year, not your bestsellers the next year.
Cindy just dropped a gold nugget there. Because I know I've talked to people, Cindy, who are like, oh, my shop isn't doing as well as it was. I'm like, well, are you still listing? Oh, I haven't been listing as much. Well, you can't write.
Well, that's why.
Yeah. You can't write on the coattails for very long of listings you've already created. You won't keep growing.
Right.
And the people that are taking advantage of the new design trends are going to outsell you under the table at that point because it's what the people are looking for now, Okay, so I know some of the things that people are curious about right now because you are wildly successful. You are doing the thing that people are looking.
I don't know about wildly.
You're there. Just wait. 1 year from now, you continue to grow, and you have got the right mindset. You have to continue to list to continue to experience this growth. So you're at like 12,000 listings now. The next 12,000 are going to come faster.
No, 12,000 sales. I have.
That's what I meant. Yes. Thank you.
I worked really hard to get 2,000 listings before this trip because I knew there might be some days I wouldn't list. So, I have just over 2,000 listings. Incredible. And as they come up for renewal, I don't keep anything on automatic. I see how they do for 4 months, maybe 1 or 2 renewals. If they're not working, I delete them. I want everything fresh.
Okay, so I think that one of the questions people are probably wondering right now are, how many listings, do you remember how many listings it took you to start getting some regular sales? We know it took you 6 months, I think you said, to get to your first 100 sales.
I do remember. I think I really had like about 1,500 listings. And let me tell you something, that wasn't my first 1,500 listings. It's like that, I told you that quote that Cassie, who quoted someone else who says, think of your first 100 listings or your first 1,000 listings as the seed or the manure that grows all your other lists. And I felt better. I'm like, okay, because this it was probably my second 1,500 listings. It took me a while to understand design, not just design, but what people wanted, and not making what I wanted, but making what they wanted. Yep. That's a skill you have to learn, and you just have to go through the learning process. It doesn't, you don't know it.
I love that quote. I think that's perfect.
I think most people, it's not just the amount of listings that you have in your shop, it's that you have to go through the time. It takes 4 months, let's say, for a listing to expire. You have to go through the time and see what sold and what didn't. So it's not just, let me get any old 1,000 listings out there. No, you have to be watching. This is selling, this isn't, and getting better at what works. And that you can't do that quickly. You have to learn it.
100%. And you said you were at around 1,500 listings 6 months in, and they weren't your first 1,500 listings. About how many designs would you say you had done?
It was over 3,000. And I mean, I did some A/B testing, but not a lot. I didn't just take something and put it on a different color or just change a few words. Okay. I didn't do like, what I do now is if there's a trend, I might do 30 of that trend with 30 different designs. What I was doing when I was brand new, I was doing all different things. Like I was doing travel, so I might be doing Paris and London and whatever. I wasn't doing 30 of anything. I was doing 1 of everything. And, that makes it slower to grow.
So now you're more batching your things. You got the idea, and then you kind of batch them.
Yeah. And I started doing that, not even realizing I was doing it. I mean, I would hear you all talk about, I would always think, oh, I'm not good at that. And then I saw, oh, wait, I just did 30 ant designs, and I did 30 grandma designs, and I'm like, I guess I am batching. Yeah. And you can reuse the same SEO.
You found your shortcut, and it happened to be the same shortcut we found too, like to batch. We know you're doubling down because you've already kind of talked about that. By batching, you're doubling down. So you're using that just means making more of what's working, right? You're looking at your data, you're seeing what's working,
yeah.
making more of that.
When I was new, when I wanted to try something new, I would do one of it. Literally, maybe two. Now, I wanted to make some, I'm an ant. I wanted to make some ant designs. So I did 30 different ant designs. In the beginning, when I was new, I would have tried one or two. And, not all 30 are going to sell. I'll be lucky if 2 or 3 sell. That's how you have to think. Like, you do a lot in order to get a few here, and you do a lot over here to get a few, It's a numbers game, just like when I worked in real estate. It's all a numbers game.
Yeah, 300 listings don't usually lead to a lot of sales. 3,000 listings, and it's not like you get 3,000 listings up overnight. It happens over time. There's a ton that have 0, nothing happening, but then you have a nice couple handfuls that have something happening, and then you got to have a handful that have a lot happening. And this all leads up to go to Rome on vacation money. Like it gets there.
It took a lot. It took a lot to do that. I wouldn't want people to think, oh, I'm going to start a shop and go to, it took a lot. I worked 10, 13. The first year I worked every day, over 10-hour days doing this. And I had a part-time job too. So it's not like, oh, I'll start an Etsy shop and I'll make a lot of money. It's not like that. It's really work.
My story is very similar.
If you want to make that kind of money.
Yeah.
If you want to make that kind of money, yeah, and I'm in Rome, in the hotel room last night, looking at trends, looking at Etsy, seeing what's happening, and putting up new designs. So I put up, not a lot, but I didn't want to not put any up. So I've been putting up designs while we're here. I worked on the plane while we were traveling.
Yep, I always pay for the Wi-Fi on the plane so I can keep working.
But, and my tour guide, she gave me good quotes when she was just telling me the whole history of Rome and the Vatican and everything. And some of the things she said, I'm like, that would work on a shirt.
There's something said here too, because you enjoy traveling, and that's one of the niches that has really picked up for you, and is one of the niches that makes you a lot of money. Designing in a place where you actually enjoy that idea, it keeps you going. And then there's other niches that you stumble to, and it's mine very similar. I've stumbled to by mistake, like for you, the political niche, you kind of stumbled into that.
That's true. It's like travel. When you have your own passion behind it, it's not like work. It's like, how some people like sewing at the end of the day. I like designing. So it's like relaxing to me,
And that's something we grow into.
And it comes through.
That's something we kind of probably both, I know for me, I grew into that. At first it was the why, right? I also wanted to travel and not be able to worry about it. I wanted to be able to not tutor after school every day until late. And so that started out. So, for you on the other side of the screen, if you don't enjoy designing now, if you just have a big enough why and see this as a big enough opportunity, then you kind of, keep trucking.
Or you could find, there's probably something you could find too. Like my husband doesn't like designing like I do. And he's tried other things. He's tried using AI to create stained glass designs. There's other ways to do it though. He tried drop shipping for a while. There's other ways, if you just hate designing, that you can kind of make this work for you. Yeah. You just have to find your spot.
I love that suggestion. I feel like another thing that people might be thinking about or wondering is, have you used ads? What are your thoughts on ads? What have they looked like during your journey?
In the beginning, I would advertise everything and see what worked and turned off what didn't work. And I just recently learned about Profitry. It's an app where it shows you what you're actually spending on ads. Because my second year, I had all these sales, but I didn't make as much money as I thought I would. So then I got this app and I'm like, oh, because I'm only making a 14% profit, not a 30% profit, because I was losing money in ads and not knowing it. And now I'm very careful of what I advertise. I do advertise, and I don't ever reduce my ad budget. I'm always upping my ad budget, you can see what profit you made. So I'm trying to keep, not spending more than a 10 or 12%. So depending what profit the shirt made me and what I spent to get that, I'm turning off ads that are not working for me. So instead of having 1,500 ads, I have 200 or 300 ads. And I didn't lower the cost, my budget. I kept my budget the same. So when I look at the end of the day, I spent this much and I made this much. It's not backwards where, you spent $500 to make $20. And I didn't understand. Like, people would talk about Etsy, how to go through and how to read the ROA, I didn't understand any of that until I got to that Profit Tree app. You can see very black and white. And now I always make sure that my profit is close to 30 and my ad spend is under 10. And that's really hard to do because in the beginning, I had no clue how to do that. I don't think when you're new, you can understand. I don't know, unless you come from a numbers mind, and I was all ready to hire somebody to like, am I making money? Am I losing money? Do a profit and loss here. I want to see what's happening. I was going to hire someone to do it. And then this Profit Tree app was just like, oh, okay, I'm spending a lot of money on ads and they're not making me money. And now I know. So it's really hard for new people. When I was new, I started out slow. I started out $10, $15, $20. And then, when things started moving, I got up to 200. I was still only spending like 300 a month, and it never spends that. Because of the fact that I'm turning off ads, it's spending less than $50 a day, sometimes $30 a day. And one day, I had one day where I didn't spend a dime on ads and I still had 30 sales. So, those were all organic. That's only happened once in 3 years. But
Cindy's talking about Profit Tree. I will leave it linked down in the description. And I'll also leave Hannah Gardner's channel linked down in the description because Hannah is the mastermind behind Profit Tree, which I've heard like so many people are so pleased with being able to track their ads through Profit Tree and their profitability for their business through Profit Tree. Like you said, you were going to hire someone to do information for you. Profit Tree kind of did it for you.
Yeah. And I didn't want to have to give them all my
login, personal banking, all that. Yeah. So that's wonderful. Yeah. And then super interesting that very similar to me too, Cindy. Like I have my profit, my ads budget at $1,000 a day, but I've never ever spent $1,000. Usually like around Christmas time, it might be $300 a day that I'm spending. There's been a couple of days where something crazy happened and I didn't catch it. Maybe I spent $700 and I wasted money that day. I had to pull it down.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. There's so many things to learn. It's just a whirlwind. Yep. It's like, there's so much.
But you stuck with it. And here we are, not even maybe 2.5 years, not even 2.5 years later. And you are traveling Europe and your Etsy shop is to that place.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm sitting here. I just can't believe it. I mean, you travel a lot. I've never been out of the United States.
May this be the first of so many wonderful trips for you.
I hope.
Oh, Cindy, thank you so much for taking some time during your trip. I know you're sitting in the cafe, chatting with us. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking part of your time from your vacation to come on and inspire other people on this other side of the screen. Do you have any thoughts that come to mind? The biggest thing that kept me going were interviews that Cassie Johnson did with the Life Hacker couple, because that's who I was watching. I would watch these interviews over and over again. Like, if she could do it, I could do it. I'd be driving to school. Do you have anything that you want to say to the person on the other side of the screen that's either on the fence about starting their shop or doesn't know whether they should go hard or not? They've started their shop, but they're like, should I really go hard here? Should I keep going? Do you have anything to say to that person?
If you're going to do this, go hard. Because if you're just going to play at it, you're not going to, if you want a hobby, if you want to treat it like a hobby, you might get some hobby money. You make up your mind you're going to do this until it works. For all of us, everybody, I remember being 6 months, whining to Cassie and Heather, why aren't I getting sales? Why? It was the same thing for me in the beginning. It took a lot of work and a lot of listings and understanding. It doesn't come easy.
No.
I would tell people, commit to a year of really working it and see where you are in a year from now. That's what I would say.
I couldn't agree with that more, everything that you just said. And I think that's where people get confused. Like they start an Etsy shop and they're like, oh, this will be nice. You know, I'll put a listing here and there, or I'll do 2 or 3 a week. And that's the thing. There's like this seesaw effect, I feel like you put a little bit of work in and nothing happens. You might as well as go enjoy the beach. Like, why do it? Like just go enjoy the day at the beach or go to the lake. Because if you want to make money at Etsy, if you do an outpouring of work, then it's like, whoa, like the scale goes way up. Like you can make a lot of money.
But it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It took, for me, it was every day. And I was doing it all. I didn't go to the gym for a year. I didn't go out with people. I mean, the first year and even most of the second year, it wasn't until the end of the second year where I started to being able to control my time. And I did this because I wanted freedom of time, but no, I didn't have freedom of time. I did it every day, Saturdays, Sundays, all day, sometimes till 4 a.m, you know, which is probably because, you know, maybe I was slower than others in the beginning. Maybe it took me longer in the beginning. You know, I hear other people talking, it doesn't take them 3,000 designs, but, you know, I was willing to do whatever it took, you know, and I didn't care what it took. And I knew it would eventually work. Yep. So I would say for people starting this, you have to know it's a long-term profit. It's not a quick buck. It's at least putting in a year's worth of real work, like as much as you'd put in a 9-to-5 job for a year, and then make a decision if this is for you or not. Unless, you know, and if you don't want to do that, then go do something else.
I feel like that's great advice because, you know, we all want to live. Life is short. We want to live the best life we can. That's the whole reason I think you and I started our Etsy shops. And then we understood that it wasn't going to be easy. I think we watched enough content, the two of us, in the beginning of our journey, where we realized, oh, this is a lot of work. So if I'm going to do this, I'm sacrificing these months so that later I can live the life I can build the life.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly how I thought. Yeah. And that's
very similar to you. I gave up the gym for a whole year. Also, it took me about 7 months to start making some nice money from Etsy. At that
yeah, you know, I learned in the beginning from Heather and Cassie. They were like, I didn't ever talk to Cassie, but Heather, I took one of her classes and I watched everything Cassie did. So when I was brand new, Heather and Cassie were my inspirations. I think you came from the same background. So that's probably why we have similar mindsets, because that was drilled into us, you know, that this is a commitment, you know.
It's probably not going to be a couple $100 a month and do a little bit of work there's like no in between, or I wouldn't say there's no in between. There's not a big space for in between though.
If you do a little bit of work, you don't get seen. No. It just, you don't do a little bit of work and make a little bit of money versus a lot of work and a lot of money. If you do a little bit of work, this whole thing doesn't work
at all. Yep.
It just doesn't. You have to enjoy it. I enjoy it, which is, so it's easy to do it, right? Designing it now that I know how to is relaxing. I mean, day one, I didn't know what to put on the page, but now 3 years later, I enjoy it. You know, I'm like, oh, I have an idea. I know what will work.
But in the beginning, I didn't enjoy it. I felt unsure the entire time. Like, am I wasting my time? Is this design sucks? Like, you know, like you just have to put things. Yeah.
There's a certain buyer on Etsy too, because I also have a Shopify store, and something will be selling a lot over there is different than what sells on Etsy. So there's an Etsy customer. You kind of have to learn who they are and what they're going to buy. You know, they're not going to buy something they can find at Target.
No, I love that you said that. There's no general Merry Christmas shirts. You got to have more value than that. It's got to be something you can't find at Target. So it's targeting a very specific customer, you know, like those specific things are not Target or Walmart. So if you are if you're feeling a little like a fish out of water and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I'm making good designs. If you want a little help with that, we do a lot of work with that in the membership. I will leave a link down below. Cindy's there. You can message her. You can chat with her in the membership. But of course, I'll be there. And
your membership is invaluable. It really is.
And then we also have lots of guided activities into whatever niche you work in, and trend reports. Which I think trend reports. I wish I had joined something in the beginning of my journey with a trend report. It's like if you don't know how to do the research for yourself, someone else doing it for you saying, hey, look at these 10 trends that just popped up.
And by the way, on this trip, one of the designs I'm working on is one of the things from your trend report. With the little with the little mini flowers, but I'm going to take it into something totally different. I'm not going to do I'm not doing mama or any of that stuff, but I'm going to try it in some other niches.
Oh, I can't wait to see the way you try it. Because you've got you've developed yourself a really good creative way to bring trends into new places. Because I've seen
thank you for saying that.
No, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. I've seen some of your stuff.
Thank you.
You have done well during your Etsy journey. You've learned so much.
If you enjoyed this, stay tuned for Shauna's interview with Joy up next, but not until this tip from Tucker. Tucker, take it away.